Emily. Let's see if I can take that off. Tell me when it shows you that we're streaming, because usually. Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Patsy Ferguson. I am the editor-in-chief of Fourth Wave, which is an international feminist magazine on Medium. We have 57,000 followers there, and all of our participants are, let's see. Okay. All of our participants are connected in some way to Fourth Wave, contributors or editors. Today, our topic is menstruation, and Muniba, one of our principal editors from Pakistan, was going to lead, but she hasn't shown up. So I'm worried possibly they have a down network in Pakistan or electrical problems, because that does happen sometimes. So we're going to do our best without her. I'll begin by asking everyone to introduce themselves and tell us where you're calling from. I'm calling from San Francisco, and I'm very happy to be here. So let's just step up, as you will.
Esther Uwanah Edith. I'm calling from Nigeria, and I'm one of the editors for Fourth Wave.
Yay. Who else is here?
Hi, my name is Sangeeta, and I'm one of the contributors to Fourth Wave.
And calling from Italy.
Yes, and calling from Italy. Yes.
Okay.
And hi, my name is Gargi. I am the founder of Unsquashable Girl. I am calling from the blizzard in New York City.
So glad you could make it.
Hi guys, I'm Vanshika and I am a writer at Fourth Wave. I am also a law student currently and I am from India.
Okay, wonderful. Well, then, Shika, you can leave your mute off if you would, unless you have a noisy environment, because I want to start with
I
you.
do.
Oh, okay. However you want to manage it. Because you wrote a story that was recently published in Fourth Wave about a Supreme Court decision in India, and I found it fascinating. What's going on there? Can you tell us a little bit about, can you summarize your story?
Yes. So currently, what really happens in India is that even though the government has provided, free instruments for sanitary napkins, etc., in schools, but usually what happens is that the devices, the instrument is not working, or they do not have the resources that the girls need. Or usually, in school washrooms, you have to pay a certain amount to get sanitary napkins, and in the village areas and districts, usually that is not affordable for people, and girls tend to miss schools and education due to that. So recently Supreme Court of India made it an important thing that free sanitary napkins and menstrual hygiene products to be given in every government school. And basically how education is a fundamental right, and every girl shouldn't miss school due to due to them menstruating. So basically, they have passed out certain guidelines through which products would be accessible to everyone in schools, and how aware about this to everyone needs to be unnecessary. So, like, basic guidelines was in that judgment.
Okay, that's wonderful to hear. Thank you. I'm so glad that the Supreme Court ruled that way. And the point you made in your story was that they didn't call it a charity or we're doing this to help you out. They called it a right. It's a right for girls to get education. It's part of having equal rights. And so if they're staying home,
Yes.
then that's a violation of their rights. I remember Uwanah writing a story once about how one of the things you did with some money you made was purchase menstruation products and gift them to people, because the same thing is happening in Nigeria. Girls drop out of school or don't go to school. Is that right?
Yes, and unlike India, where the government has taken it upon themselves, yeah, they do not care at all. So it's up to like individuals and private organizations. And we are in a very economic state. So menstrual products are expensive and our minimum wage is terrible. Most families actually cannot even afford the menstrual products for their daughters. So you find that a lot of girls miss schools during their menstrual cycles. And in parts of the country where it's like legal for girls to be married at younger ages, like once they start a period, they get married off. So yeah, and it's quite expensive actually. I remember when I was younger, I don't know if any other person had this experience. When I was younger, because of how expensive it used to be, we used to use the reusable ones because I'm the first daughter and I was like the only person with my mom having a menstrual cycle in the house for a very long time. So I used like the reusable one like for most of my childhood, and it was like a very traumatic experience. And it's not something I want anybody to have because like washing off the blood is very messy and it's not nice. So last year when I got some money from Medium, it was during the Girls International Girls Day. I got some menstrual products and I sent it to a school very close by, a government school, because I know the people go to, because we have like a very big class divide with like our government and our private schools, the public and the private schools. So like the people who go to public schools, most of them actually cannot afford those products. They are from like lower income households. So the menstrual products are expensive. The government does not care about making it free. Like we don't have you. I went to a private school and there was nothing like free menstrual products there. Even like it was not convenient, honestly. They don't really think about the fact that girls, yeah, are seeing their cycle.
How about you, Gargi? You told a little story before we started about the way menstruation is treated in India. Could
Yeah,
you?
yeah, no, I mean, I really echo what Esther is saying. It's very expensive in India to buy menstrual products, at least good ones. So a lot of people like use cloth or like they throw away the old cloth, which makes it really messy because you know you're using reusable. For me, it manifested in three different ways that I want to talk about. One is I went to a Catholic school, which is private, considered private in India. And I remember there was so much shame associated with it. It was a girls' school. So why were we like so upset about like, I mean, everybody, it's going to happen to everyone. And yet, like when it did happen, the teachers obviously had a supply that they could provide at that time. But you know, the girl was like, you have to cover up, like you have to like, it was like nobody else should see, but we're all women. So it should have been, let's, you know, talk about it, happens to everybody. And I think the biggest disconnect now, and I wish I could go back and talk to my school sometime about, is like, why didn't someone stand up in front of the room and say, this is expected around this age? You know, so the sex education in the United States, we were in a girls' Catholic school. Why was not somebody saying, this is expected, do not panic. We're here to help you. If it happens to one of your classmates, help them. And instead of acting like it's such a point of shame, so you know that I wanted to bring forward because you know we have an audience from across the globe here. I'm like, if it happens to you, if it happens to a classmate, like I feel like there needs to be more communication among women. And the second point of it that I saw in my life as a lawyer is a lot of women from South Asian countries, not just India, depend on men for money. And one of the ways domestic violence control comes up is I've heard repeatedly that the men wouldn't give money for period products. Can you believe that? Like, it's like that's a way of control. Like, you have to cower to me, you have to do what I say if you want money for period products. And to me, like seeing my friends' elder sisters get married and then complain how they no longer have money to buy period products because their husband is upset with them was such a like it's like it just shows how low people can go to control their women, to control their wives. I mean, it's just a form of control that people don't normally think about, because if you're a woman who is going to have periods and you're in a joint family in India, and then you don't want to like show off, like, okay, you're like, you can't just bleed on things. So like, and your husband saying, I will not give you period products. So I think it's such a icky topic that we need to like discuss it, bring it to the forefront, like saying, oh my God, like what kind of men are these? Like grow up, like you're every, I mean, you want the woman, you married the woman most likely so she can have a child. This is part of the process. And the third part is the religious dogma. It's like a lot of Indian gods are women. So Durga is like the main god where I come from. And I'm like, okay, but I can't pray to Durga, who's a woman god, because I am having a periods, which to me was so twisted. I'm like, I am being told to like step out of the room to when it is a woman god who we are praying to who has 5 children. So she's not a virgin. So, and I don't know, like I feel like these are like, it's funny now looking back, but I think that menstruation should not be shameful for anybody. I loved Muniba's article. I wish she was here also. That's why I like said I'm going to, I want to like call in just to support and add to the topic, so that people hear that this is an experience that needs to be reversed. We shouldn't be so ashamed of something that is part of our normal biological cycle. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. How about you, Sangeeta? What are you thinking?
Yeah, so my experience actually, ironically, although I grew up in the Middle East, when I was of menstruating age, I was in India for about a year or so because we were moving house and it was just easier. And so I got to kind of almost see firsthand the kind of treatment you get as a menstruating girl. And we were 12 years old. I remember we had a class about what a period is, how to use a pad, and stuff like that. And it was like a whole workshop for about an hour and a half. And the boys had a completely different workshop where they kind of just chilled and did nothing and didn't learn anything about periods. And we were being treated the entire time like we were being punished while they were trying to talk about this. And it's so funny because I've never seen this anywhere except for the Middle East and India or Sri Lanka, places like that. Like Gargi said, South Asia has this, where they roll up pads or tampons in newspaper and then another roll of newspaper, then they put it into a plastic bag, and it's like it's a thing, it's this dirty secret that you're supposed to have. You're not, yeah, you're not actually allowed to have this. It's like it's gonna detonate. Yeah. And it's it's so interesting as well because recently I was watching a video about the Regency era. So we're thinking still 18th century, 19th century. Um, Women's clothes, they didn't actually have underwear. Like we didn't have actual underwear that's like closed until I really want to say um, the late 1800s. That's when we started to have like completely closed off underwear. We didn't even have panties the way we do today, I think, until the turn of the 20th century, which is wild because the first thing you wonder is how did Regency women take care of their period, right? Obviously, in India and other places too, we came up with more cotton-based pads because blood will eat through most fabric, and fabric is expensive. So a lot of the time, it is cotton-based product that's being used. But this person in the video explained that the first like detachable pads, which weren't just essentially a glorified diaper that you tie up to yourself, was these like T-shaped things, kind of like a thong, but not really, like because the crotch is the removable pad. And they're put together with these pins that kind of look like the pins of a brooch. And the safety catch is just abysmal on it. So these women would constantly end up hurting themselves between changes during the day. And even today, our PR products are not safe. This part of our body is seen as an afterthought, even though it's such an integral part of our existence. And I feel like this has a lot to do with the fact that men don't have it, but not in the way that we talk about usually in our feminist discourse. Because everybody loves to say, if a man had a period, we would put all of our money into research about it. That's not necessarily true because there's so many things that happen to men that they do not do research for. I think a lot of it, and you guys can please jump in at any time, a lot of it has to do with because it can't happen to them firsthand, not having any knowledge about it is better than having to watch someone else be an authority in something. Because the one thing the patriarchy expects from men is they're the powerful ones, and knowledge is a kind of power. So, but if I cannot have intrinsic knowledge of something, it has to be useless. It has to be swept under the rug. We can't have this. I don't want to know about it. And the easiest way as well to keep women from talking about it or making a big deal about it is to make it shameful. Now, I am ashamed of something that is natural. This is the way that all mammals have babies. We have a period if we don't have a baby. If you do end up conceiving, hopefully for a while, you're not going to have a period. Some women do bleed because of, different circumstances, or sometimes it's genetics. But it's almost like we have to pretend that this thing that happens to us doesn't happen to us. Otherwise, we become victims of bioessentialism, isn't it? Because it's just women's biology that is the problem. When a man's biology is, oh, he has more testosterone, that means he should be in leadership positions for whatever reason. But with a woman, it's like, oh, she gets periods, keep her at home. She shouldn't be out. She's going to bleed over everything. It feels like control. Like Gargi made a really good point by saying, touching on control. I feel like this whole thing of us not talking to each other is just a way of keeping us down. And I feel like it's worked for quite a while.
Can I just say one thing as a
Of
follow-on?
course.
If all of us could like bust a period myth in this, because I loved how you like talked about like those like not having panties and like it's weird, like and still true. I still remember the first version of Bads I was presented, it looked like that. Anyway, one period myth that I grew up with that was only broken when I moved to the United States, and I'm embarrassed to say this even now, is that if you use a tampon, you're not a virgin.
Oh my God.
I had a student ask me that. I taught health one year. I always wanted to teach health, but they didn't let me. But I was an English teacher at the high school level, but they did eventually let me teach health. I taught it for maybe 2 years. And one student asked me, if I use a tampon, will I still be a virgin? I couldn't believe she was even asking me that. And I mean, my own personal experience was in school, they did take us aside, the girls, and tell us stuff about periods. But I used tampons like right from almost from the very get-go. And to me, that was so simple and easy. And you just flush it down the toilet, and there you go. No problem. There was a little period where they were worried about toxic shock, and that kind of freaked us out, but it passed. Like you weren't supposed to leave it in too long. And but I happened to, before this show, I stumbled on something on TikTok where a woman was interviewing men, asking them uh, various questions about menstruation, and they didn't know anything. They didn't know. I mean, she asked, can you pee while wearing a tampon? And none of the men said yes. But of course you can, because they're different orifices. And one question was how many tampons would you use per period? They didn't have any idea of that. And I forget the other question, but anyway, it was kind of made clear that men know very little about women's bodies and they need to know. I think the girls should not be taken aside. The whole class should get that lesson about
Absolutely.
menstruation, right? And one other thing I have heard of but have never tried because I'm 71, so I don't have to worry about it anymore. But I've heard there's a product called a cup where you can put that in your
Yes.
vagina and it will gather and then you can dump it out and reuse it. And that sounds like it could be useful in countries where products are expensive, to put a cup. But I do remember having a experience with a diaphragm where I found it hard to manipulate things up to catch stuff. So
But
I don't know.
just to add, in countries where these products are actually expensive, it's usually in like third world countries, which means they have third world myths and mentality. Like Gagi said that tampons, like the tampon, I've never used a tampon. Like it's not a thing over here, and it's even like way more expensive. So like we've not got into using tampons, so we cannot go into using cups.
I see. That's a step
Like,
beyond, right?
I know.
Like it's kind of like almost like taboo. Like you can't like because like virginity is so valued over here, so you cannot be putting anything up there, and it's also very expensive.
I'm curious since you said that. When I was growing up, just in full transparency, I don't think India even sold tampons widely because I
Yeah,
know
we
people
don't
are
sell it.
getting it, like you were saying. So, I mean, Vanish, am I saying your name right? Vanishka? Like, are tampons, is it
Manchita.
available?
Um, I think till now also they are not easily available.
Mm.
In a grocery store, you may find one brand of it, but you will get thousands of sanitary napkins brand.
Yeah.
And menstrual cup, that too is like easily available, but people still have that mindset that, oh, how will be able to use it, or it's going to be so difficult to use it. So people don't really have that kind of awareness right now that it's very easy to use and it's more safer for the environment. And if I add on to the myth situation, then I can name thousands of myths that are, spreading across India. Like once I was talking to this guy and I was like, oh, I am on my periods and I, just took a shower and I washed my hair. And he was so shocked. He like, how can you wash your hairs while you are on your periods? And I was
Oh,
like, by using shampoo and water. And he like literally shocked. And the other myths that come across India are like you can't worship the gods, or you can't eat pickle, or you can't touch pickles, or they will rot. So
oh.
like these myths are very common around India. And even in certain region of India, you are not allowed to, go to kitchens while
Yeah.
you are on your period, or you have to live separately from your house. You can't enter your own house, your own room, and you have to live in very poor conditions during periods. And that's just very sad because you are already going through many changes in your bodies. And I think growing up, I have faced my share of discrimination due to periods. Like, I remember when I started my periods, um, I was very ashamed to let other girls in my class know it because I was one of the few girls who started it. And I remember getting bullied, like, why did you get your periods earlier than us, or how can you get your periods so faster? And I'm like, that's not in my hands, truly. And I think in my family too, I was supposed to hide it from my from my father and from my brother. And for the initial years, I was not allowed to tell any of my relatives, even my grandmother, that I have started my periods, because in some part of India, periods are really, celebrated, that, oh, our daughter is, they have a whole festival. They celebrate it like literally like a festival. And then in northern part of India, you have to hide it and you can't tell anyone. So across different regions in India, you can see various kinds of opinion related to periods.
I'm interested, is the celebration in Kerala? Because we have an
Yeah,
editor,
in the southern area of India.
because we have an editor, Suma Narayan from Kerala, who talks about it being a much more feminist place than the rest of India. So that's
I think,
interesting.
Very, very true.
yeah, I think Bengal, where I like originally come from, is also very feminist. We have a lot of
Yeah.
Indian women gods, but some of
Mhm.
these, so we have less restrictions than some of the myths. And I loved all the myths you said, because I've like come across them going to school in Delhi. But it's a little bit less. Like, you can cook. Like, I remember some people would be like, can't touch curd because it'll like not set. Like, very weird things. Like, as if my whole alkalinity is changing to a point where the atmosphere is affected. Um, so it's interesting to me how, when I was speaking about control, is how periods are being used as a weapon against women to put, I mean, all of us said stories where basically it's being used as another way to put women down.
And I honestly think that periods should be celebrated, and that that menstrual blood is literally the blood of life. Our whole species would not exist without it. And it's interesting that the life-giving fluid that creates us in a godlike way is what's denigrated. It seems to me it almost seems diabolical that you would say, you women, you're not godlike, you're not creating life, you're not preparing for new life, you're dirty, you need to go out of the kitchen, out of the house, and keep it a secret, and all that. It's the opposite that is true. That you know, I don't know. It seems to me that to create a baby, to give life, to create new life is a godlike power, and menstrual blood is part of it. It's like holy water or something. If I were creating a religion, that's what I would include.
And one of the myths we have over here is that menstrual blood, like a woman in a menstrual cycle, is powerful. And I find it's like it's bad. Like, it sounds good, but it's actually terrible.
Like a
Like,
witch.
I do not like the old divine femininity thing. So it's like your words are more powerful when you're on your cycle.
Mooney's
You
calling me. I'm gonna answer her, but go ahead, please go.
So it's like your words are more powerful when you're on your cycle. And we have black magic over here. So it's like a woman on a cycle is able to like render them powerless. So it's so because of that they are feared, kind of. Like, so men will dabble in things like avoid them, but that's a good thing, I guess. But at the same time, it's like it's just weird. Like, it's not a good thing. It sounds good, but it's the way they paint it, the way they use it is very terrible. Like, it's not good at all.
I missed it. Is it like you're a witch or something? You're
Yes, kind of. Just because you're on your menstrual cycle.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
No.
Yeah, Sangeeta, please.
Sorry. Actually, for different regions of the world, I feel like one thing is very common between pretty much all of us is this demonization of women for bleeding. The only time we're not demonized for bleeding is if it proves our virginity, which I also find very interesting. And it's the only time you shouldn't bleed. You shouldn't bleed during sex. but you're supposed to the first time for just to make someone feel better about themselves, right? And I actually, about the festival, I had a friend who is she's Carolite, and she had this happen, but now I don't know, I wish someone was here so she could talk about this. But what my friend said was it was highly invasive, and it's essentially you're decked up like a bride to open you up to the marriage mart. Oh, she
Oh,
bleeds now, so she's ready to be married.
Oh,
That's
I see.
that's the thing. So it's not, as much as it sounds like such a good thing,
Yeah,
you
that's great.
you are watched until you get your period. And then this party is kind of like a debutante party
Okay.
where you're showing off the wares, how she would look as a bride. And all of these people come in and get to see you and, invade your privacy. And it's usually the first day, if possible, or the second day of your period. Like the
Yeah.
minute they get to know,
I'm
sorry,
not sure
that
that this
sounds true. You know how you like hear something sounds true? Like that sounds true.
good still. Like, just leave us alone.
I see
yeah.
Muniba has joined us. I
Hi,
don't see.
Muniba.
Hello.
Yay, we can hear you. We can't see you. I don't know if you can get your video working.
Yeah, I'm trying.
I'm sorry.
I am so sorry and I'm very confused.
We changed it back to 8 a.m. I'm
Oh,
sorry, because
I,
it turned out we put it to 9 Pacific time because Suma said she could attend at that time.
I didn't know that.
But it
And
turns out she couldn't attend anyway, because it was still
I'm
4 in the morning.
I made all the presentation on this.
Okay, let's go. You give it to us. Give it to us now.
No,
Yes, yes. We've been talking about our personal experiences. We want to hear
I
yours.
hate it. Like I don't know.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't maybe communicate clearly about it, but uh, tell us what you had prepared, please. We want
Okay.
to hear from you.
I wrote an poem on it about this, but I want you to continue that. I come back on track, I think. I'm just very confused and I hate it. It's only
Well,
15
one
minutes left.
no, we can go over. And so Mooney, one thing I was excited about when you suggested this topic was that the story you wrote was part of Grandma Gertie's Guide for Girls, which
Yeah.
is an effort Fourth Wave has to reach younger women, because younger women need a lot of information they don't necessarily get. Um, and so, what inspired you to write? I know you originally wrote a story and then I asked you to rewrite it for 12-year-olds, which you did. Um, but what inspired you to write your story?
Uh, okay. What inspired me that I think it was 3 or 4 months ago that my little cousin, she was visiting me, like from another city, and she was living with me. She was just 14, and I love her. And she got her first period in my house, and so I think this was very good. I think for me to know that and she was all confused, and she was like, "What is this?" She knew about periods. That thankfully now, schools are educating um, young girls on this, but she was confused, like she was ashamed somehow. She was like, she said, "Oh, I there is red spot on your bed and this," and I was like, "It's okay, it is nothing to ashamed about." And I told her everything, that it is okay, and about periods are not something to shame about, but it is what it is. It is like gift for us. It means that we are women, that we are special, that we are going to have like, I don't want to say that it means that we are going to mother at some point, but it is like very big blessing somehow. I told her this. But in my when I was 13-year-old, and when I found out that I have periods, I was like, oh, I think I have cancer. Yes. And I was like that I am dying for sure. And I told my mother that I'm not going to school because I have cancer. And my mother was like shocked, and what are you saying, that cancer? What? I said, yes, I have blood in this place, and this is like cancer for sure. And my mother was, what are you saying? Shh, don't say this, don't you dare to talk about this to anyone. If someone find out about this, um, this is very big thing. Don't tell your father, or don't tell any man about this. And she told me that don't ever don't allow any man to touch you, or any boy to touch you. If someone touch you, no one is going to marry you. And I was all confused, like this was all the sex education and periods education I got in my childhood. This was all. And yes, this topic is very close to my heart, but I am very disappointed. I don't know about time, and I hate it.
Well, we're
Actually, I have a very weird first time. Like when I got my period for the first time, I did not tell anybody for months because
Oh,
I've always been like very self-sufficient. I was in boarding school, and even though I was in boarding school, I don't think my mom would have known for the longest time. I was like 11 years old, and it was when my mom came to pick me from boarding school. That's when my hostel mistress told my mom that, oh yeah, she got her period this term. So that I did not tell anybody because like I had read so much, I had watched videos, like I knew so much already. I knew how to handle it. So I did not feel the need to announce it or anything. So I just handled it on my own. And I was 11, like thinking I was in that was wild. But that was what I did.
that
Well, I
is
just wanted to
wild.
No, I just wanted to say I was very inspired by Muniba's article. Like, to say it openly, I think we were discussing some of that, Muniba. Like, your experience is so relatable. And to say it openly, like just even reading it, like really made me like, okay, we should. It's a lovely topic. I want to join. And it's this experience that you're talking about where like women are surprised is still happening. And that's the part where I hope, like, and I also read your version for Grandma Gertie's, which is wonderful, which is like takes women through like I want to call it the zero shame version of having a period. So thank you for doing this. Thank you for like putting this out. I just want to say I think it's going to be a great resource. I just want to say the snow is really coming on badly. So if I disappear, it's not because of anything. I love this discussion. It's just that I feel like my Wi-Fi might go off. So I may be off, put myself on mute just to not disturb you guys. But thank you for just having this, and Muni. I'm so happy to see you again.
thank you. So happy to see you again, Gargi. And I'm so sorry I messed up time.
No problem. No problem.
So, what were you people talking about?
Well, we started talking about the Supreme Court in India has passed a law. So you read the story of Vanshika is here. Vanshika is here.
Yes. I am very happy, Vanshika, to you joined us. That I was going to like invite her, but thankfully Patsy did.
Thank you for having me here. I guess this is my. I woke up today and I saw my story has been featured and I have been invited here. And I'm going on and telling my friends, ki, oh, I'm going to be on an international platform. I'm going to speak. Yay. And because I recently joined Medium and I have recently started writing blogs about everything and, so it's really a big deal for me.
It is a big deal. Can I just say, Vanshika, that the Fourth Wave publication and all the editors are here, like my favorite ones, at least. Like they are so lucky for even me because my first story got featured like by Medium on just by itself. I'm like, I was I mean, of course, I shouldn't say this anymore because the Boost program is different now. Uh, but it's just a very lucky group of women. I'm so glad to be part of all of you. You guys do such important work. And it's just like you're saying when I say you felt so like lucky. I was like, oh my God, I get to meet this wonderful woman from around the globe. Like, and they are doing such wonderful articles. So anyone who's hearing this should follow Fourth Wave.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, so you people told us about what was your first time,
And then we can
and
talk about myths, like if you want to like tell us a myth. Like what is a wrong idea? Like I said, like, tampon, use of tampon is considered that, I mean, still considered that you're not
yes,
virgin anymore. So I just want to tell all the girls out there, if you use a tampon, doesn't mean you're not virgin.
It's my own personal, when I first saw the topic, I thought, oh, this isn't that very interesting because honestly, in my house, in the US, in California, nobody tried to shame me, and I used tampons, which were easy to use. I barely even noticed. I did get a lot of cramps, so I took some medicine for that, and that was it. And there's no virginity, like I wasn't part of a church that prized virginity. In fact, I was growing up during the free love era, which had its own problems, but it was kind of, if you were hip and cool, you were supposed to have a lot of sex. So it was kind of the opposite. And so it wasn't a big problem for me, but I'm amazed when I hear how women are shamed around the world, and it's terrible. And I had mentioned earlier, I think it's diabolical to take a sacred, precious power women have and to call it dirty. Maybe I just didn't accept the shame. Maybe they did try to shame us a little because they did take us apart as girls and from the boys and tell us. And boys know nothing, seem to know nothing about women's bodies and how they work, even in progressive environments, because they're not told. I think that should change.
Yeah.
and I think what should change, and this is very important for me for this month. We are having Ramadan. You know about Ramadan, we fast, and when there is periods, no women fast, but there is some type of dramatic thing going on in house that women don't tell men that they are not fasting, so they hide somewhere drink water or eat something so that men don't know that we have periods and going on. So this should have changed, and this is something not to shamed about. This is I remember when most of my teenage and when I was adult and everything in my house, this was like something whenever I am not fasting and my periods. So I like I was just trying to look like I am fasting, and this was like, now I think that this is some kind of nonsense, I think.
I agree.
think I think a year or so ago I had written an article about the possibility. In fact, I think it was passed a bill to allow women in India to take paid period leave, which
Right.
was yes, and I think what was very interesting to me was going through Twitter, I guess X at this point, and seeing the way that men were reacting to this, and they were so polarized because there are some men obviously who love women, or they have like either they have a mother or a sister or someone who has a period around them, who go like, yeah, I see the value of this. But so many men were like, this is unfair. You are trying to make a big deal, like a mountain out of a molehill. This is not an important topic. And a lot of women said it was unfeminist for women to get this period leave, which I thought was the most interesting thing of all, because it's almost like it is a debilitating 25% of your adult life, starting from puberty until menopause. 25% of your time. So, which is about a week out of a month, every month, hopefully every month. Some people don't get them on time. Some people have endometriosis and it's all the time. So, what was interesting to me was just even on my article, there was such a big discussion where people were like, no, you shouldn't have it. No, you should have it. And at the heart of it is the idea that if this thing is debilitating to women, maybe they should just go away rather than, oh, this thing is debilitating for women. Maybe we should help them. Maybe we should provide allowances. Maybe we should consider the way that we treat people. Maybe having blood come out of you, because at the end of the day, this is not necessarily a painless process. This is not, for us, it's kind of a daily thing almost. We're kind of used to tracking our period and, keeping our stock up for all the product that we're going to need and things. At the end of the day, it's a very lonely process. And it can be very painful for a lot of women. Some women just, they can't even get out of bed, but they take a bunch of pills and they show up anyway. And I feel like we shouldn't need to live in a world where we need to slug it and just, go through it anyway, especially considering how little research is there toward our bodies. Only recently I saw an article, I can't remember from where, which said that men can get endometriosis.
What?
I
Isn't
didn't know that was how, but
yeah.
apparently there is, it's tissue based. And also the way that endometriosis shows up, it's in stages similar to cancer, but it's not classified as a cancer because not enough men get it. It's kind of similar to how we thought that only women can get breast cancer because we have breasts, but men can get it too.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, there is such little care about such a vital part of a woman's life, even beyond, I'm sure after menopause, for my mother especially, menopause was difficult and there was very little care. It was almost like an inconvenience. Like she was almost a trope, the woman who's just getting a hot flash and getting woozy and swooning. Where was the help? You know what I mean? Like, where is the assistance? Especially when I remember mentioning that recently that we did have sex ed, and it's basically just telling the girls what a period is, how to use a pad, right? No one ever told us about childbirth, exactly what happens, what kind of things you're going to go through, that it's not necessary that your period will stop, that sometimes you can have multiple pregnancies and one of them can be ectopic, and then you have to go to the doctor, right? There are so many things we are not taught about our bodies. And it's like, yes, of course, our bodies are mysterious to men. A lot of the times they're mysterious to us, which I feel like is so awful because we live in a world where women are constantly going to the doctor, but to get checked for things like filler, or we're going to estheticians to like make ourselves look beautiful. Women are more, women are pushed to have nice nails as compared to actually knowing what's going on inside of us. And the processes for checking are so painful and unnecessarily painful. It was only my most recent pap smear that was completely bearable to the point where I was like, oh, I didn't really feel that. And you had a whole camera there? I didn't know that. But I think I think we're in a stage where religion has told us that periods are not a good thing. Society tells us to hide it. Men don't really want to, well, not in my experience. I was very lucky. I've met a lot of men who will, take care of you during this time. But they are almost a minority, and I don't think we should be giving them brownie points anytime soon just for the bare minimum. This is basic stuff. Like, you have someone around you having a period, help them. But it's just it's too late by the time a lot of us realize how much we have had to shrink ourselves to be palatable. And I'm working on a piece about this because I feel like menstruation and the AI girlfriend are almost go hand in hand. Because the one thing bot and AI girls will never have, and it's not even related to any other kind of woman, they're never gonna bleed and they're never gonna say no. There's never gonna be a time where for a while it has to be about them. There's no 1 week in a month where you absolutely have to cater to it. It always caters to you. And I read somewhere someone said something like men are attracted to the fawn response. They need someone who will cater to them. I feel like when it comes to things like menstruation, it is the one time where we genuinely need someone to cater to us and we become Miss Independent and have to take care of ourselves. Oh, and yeah, I I find this entire topic has been incredibly fascinating, especially considering so many of our experiences are pretty much the same, aren't they? Like, everybody had this moment where you knew about periods and were instantly told, this is bad. You shouldn't have this in public. Keep it inside. Don't show anyone. Hide it. And I'm just, I'm so intrigued. Can I ask everybody, like, is this something that you were taught to also keep private from people you dated? Or if you didn't date, married? Was this also a thing you keep private from your husband?
I think I'm the odd person out here because I I didn't keep it private from anyone. And I also, even though I did have significant pain, I took pain pills. And
Yeah.
I didn't have that. I resented, like, people say, "Oh, are you on your period?" As Gargi asked us earlier to bust some myths, and I realize hormonal fluctuations affect moods, but men also have hormonal fluctuations, and you know, I didn't notice myself acting different. And I also would be worried about in the workplace if I was saying, "Oh, I need a period leave," if bosses wouldn't want to hire me for that. So I have mixed feelings. I understand wanting to take care, that we should take care of each other, but I also worry about losing ability to make money and to run my life. And so I want to appear, as as healthy and competent as possible. So anyway, my experience is a little different than everyone else's, but I just wanted to put that in, add that.
In my experience, I think I was always told to keep it a secret, but as far as I can remember, I was the one who used to go and aware people about periods. Even in, I think, seventh, eighth standard, I was the one who could have open conversation with the boys in my class. And um, people used to see me as, why are you sharing so much information, or why do you need to share it with others? And I was like, because this is very basic. Everyone should, have basic knowledge about it. That's like very basic thing. And as far as telling, like keeping it a secret from your partners or your husbands, I have always seen my mother, sharing it openly with my father. So I don't think I had that in my mind that, oh, I have to hide it from my partner too. But as a daughter, I was not supposed to share it with my father, even though it was always in my mind, and my father has provided me that space, I guess, after many conversations. I remember this one incident that I was hospitalized and I got my periods, and I told the nurse that, could you go and bring me a sanitary napkin from the chemist shop? And they were like, oh, we can't buy it. You have to, go and buy it on your own. And I couldn't leave the bed, and my father was the only one available. And he was like, yeah, I can go and I can buy it. I don't mind. And that one sentence, it was so shocking for me, because my whole life, my everyone around me has told me that, oh, you can't share it with your father, you can't share it with your brother. During my teen years, I used to hide my sanitary napkins, and at this point, I don't care if anyone in my family is seeing me. And I'm like, all right, just add it in the grocery list, and anyone can buy it for me. So, that's an experience. And also, we were talking about menstrual leave, like menstrual leave being paid. So in some companies or in some parts of India, it is regulated right now, but there's a whole debate going on, and men are like, "Oh, we twisted our ankle. We should also get paid leave. If women can get menstrual leave, so we also get sick. No, so we should also get paid leave. And if they can just chill at home and rest, why don't we get rest leaves too?" And they
But
are
you don't.
comparing one thing from menstruation, and I'm like, these things are totally different. You can't compare menstruation pain and discomfort with something like twisting your ankle. Imagine a girl twisting their ankle on their periods and then living with it. You can't compare it. So yeah.
But don't they get sick leave? Does everyone get paid sick leave?
So it's not a law as of now, but
Hmm.
some states has passed some regulation that if some companies or some private organizations want to pass it, they can do so. But as of now, it's not a national law.
Mm.
Okay. For me, I did from my father and brothers, but not with my husband ever. And when we were not married, it was like, no, he is very open-minded and he likes to talk about things like that. And he said that this is normal, this is something that it is not something to hide about. And he was always, whenever I told him when we were not married that I am not fasting, but I told everyone that I'm fasting, and he was like, "What are you eating then? please go eat something and go drink something, that this is not something to hide about. So yes, I never hid this from him, and now he insisted me to not hide this from his father, who is my father-in-law, and he said that go tell him that you are not fasting. It's okay if you are having periods. It's okay that, but I don't know. It is from my childhood experiences. I never tell my father-in-law this, but I'm trying to. But I think this is some work we are going to do to ourselves, I guess. And other thing about like Vanchika said, and everyone else is saying that one time I remember in my childhood that we found out a pad, and in our childhood we were playing, and we find pad, and my elder cousins, I guess it was there, and they were like so shocked, and one of them started crying that ooh, like ooh, who dumped a pad in air, and now these kids see it. It is so bad, and this and that. She was crying like, and we were all confused that what is going on, and I think world is changing now. I think so. Now this like there is so much education and so much like good education is going on, but we have to educate more. We have to educate ourselves too, our daughters, sisters, cousins, whoever can. Like change come from home. I think one day it will be changed, and there will be no shame in periods or anything, I think.
Well, I will add later to this video links at the bottom to Muniba's story and other story and Vanchika's story, and also our Grandma Gertie's Guide for Girls. So I have to wait 24 hours, but those will be there if you're watching this later, if you want to read more about periods.
Okay, to answer the question, I was never outrightly told not to tell anybody, but like just saying the old behavior of a woman around, like you just have to, you don't want to be like the odd one out. And I think that's one of the reasons I never told anyone when I when I said my period, because it was like, and I also did not like to be an inconvenience. I don't know why. Like I hate bothering anybody about myself. So like it felt like something I could handle myself. And yeah, but now like I don't feel the shame anymore. I've never had a period conversation with my daddy. I've never bought me a pad or anything. So like it's not something we've ever spoken about. But obviously I've seen Patsy in my room. Like obviously at this point I should be seeing my period. But it has never been a conversation. Like even with my mom, like Moni said, like don't allow like anybody touch you. If they touch you, mom was you're going to get pregnant. Like obviously knew that was not true. She was like, oh, don't sit near any boy. Don't allow anybody to argue. Like and it was okay when I left boarding school, because I have like my cycles are always very spaced out. I think normal length is like 28 days. Mine is always closer to 40 days. And it has always been like that. So when I came home for holiday, I was like, when was your last period? And I told her, she said, why have you not seen it yet? And she wanted to beat me because she said, like, I must have been touched somehow. And I was like, no, like, no. So, yeah, that's how it has always been. So it's not like a really open conversation. It has never been an open conversation we have. Yeah, and yeah, but it's not something I hide from partners or anything or friends. It's not like a closed conversation for me anymore.
Um, so to add on to it, like you mentioned that you have a long cycle. I have PCOD, and for like almost for almost 3 to 5 years, I was struggling with having a continuous cycle flow, and
Oh,
there was a time when I didn't have my periods for about 6 months, and in India, you can't really see something like a medicine or a treatment for PCOD. I don't think on international platform also there's something a treatment kind of thing for PCOD, and all they give you is a birth control pill, and it messes up with your mind a lot. Like I remember, my treatment is going on right now, and for the last 3 months, I am on birth control, and I could literally see the changes in my mind. Like people around me are like, you are more on the depressive side, you are speaking less, or you are not yourself. And currently, like recently, I stopped taking those pills, and I could literally see that, oh, I have the energy to get out of the bed. For the last 3 months, due to those birth control pills and due to not having any other treatment plan for PCOD, I was constantly feeling anxiety, or I didn't wish to get out of my bed, and I was having so many, I would say, problems physically, mentally, and till now, I don't know what is the solution to get over PCOD. And in India, you can see that almost every one girl in five are suffering from PCOD, and it's so painful. From like, it's very painful. You get PMS starts 10 days earlier, and it's like that. It's like for the whole month, I'm constantly in cramps, or I don't wish to get out of my bed. So PCOD is something that comes with menstruation, and you could see in girls at a very early age as of now. And that's basically due to ill life cycle or the junk food we all eat. But I think um, we need to aware more about PCOD too to girls, because it impacts your life at a very big level.
would you tell me what PCOD is? I'm sorry, I don't know.
Well,
What do the initials stand for?
Polycystic, yeah.
I'm forget. Yeah. No, no,
Polycystic ovarian disorder.
Oh.
So
yes,
it's
it
multiple
is.
cysts
I
around
am
your egg.
also suffering from this. Yes, and it is very, very painful. Vanchika, this is a very good point. It was, and I never knew about it. No one educated anyone about this. It is something that it is very painful, and we have cysts, like cystic ovary, which made our periods painful, and it is like that is why the mood swings are very normal in this PCODs. And I was like some kind, my husband gave me a name that, oh, now you are Hulk again. You know Hulk, the superhero Hulk,
Oh, okay.
who is always angry and this and that. And I was like, oh, you are judging me because of this? And he said, no, I'm not judging you, I'm just telling that you are Hulk now. So yes, it is very important. Vanchika, why don't you write an article about this to our publication.
Yeah,
I was
that's a great idea.
I was interested to hear that you had that emotional response to the birth control pill because I also had that and I stopped taking it. It made me very depressed, but I believed that they had altered the formula, so now it was much smaller amount that didn't depress people anymore. But I never went back. I ended up using an intrauterine device, which is something they put in your womb and then you don't have babies until you take it out. And it hurts to put it in, but then it's in there and you don't ever have to think about it until you take it out. So I wasn't willing to take the birth control pill for that reason, but I think most women in the US, that's their preferred form of birth control is the birth control pill. So I'm surprised it has still emotional effects because I believed that they had fixed it somehow.
There's I mean, I'm not an expert on this at all, but I do know I have family members who are GYNs here. There's very many formulas here. So if you go and complain about whatever the side effect is, they switch you to a different formula, which really pertains to your response to the pill. So I don't want anyone to like get away from this thinking all birth control pill is bad, it'll make you depressive, because again, that's a myth we don't want to spread.
Right.
I think you should go speak to your doctor, and in the United States, I can definitely tell you that they will give you different versions of it that will minimize effects or have none. So I know the choices are limited in India, so I don't want to act like, in India, there's probably like very less brands. In the United States, there's like, I don't want to say hundreds, but like many, many brands now, which cater to your specific symptom. It is catered to your like whatever you're feeling, like depression or whatever the specific symptom is, and they adjust it's not one for all. So it's a very important method of birth control. So again, I want to say that too, because there's many, many women in India and in Southeast Asia who are so scared of birth control because of side effects, that they'd rather have a baby with a person they don't like or love than be on birth control. So I just wanted to come in here and just clarify that please don't be scared of birth control pills. It is serving a purpose. It is saving many women's lives. Many, many women have been able to get out of marriages or like stop this constant cycle of reproduction because of birth control. Go speak to your doctor. There are options. I mean, I understand there are side effects, but not everybody faces side effects, and it is a life-saving tool that you should explore.
Thank you. Thank you.
Actually, also adding to Gargi's point, like she said, there are different formulations, even for the morning after pill and stuff, because there are certain things to keep in mind. For example, some pills even have a weight limit. So yeah, and they will have it on the packaging. So you want to talk to your provider and say, listen, this is my height and weight. So will this work for me? Because sometimes it won't. And it's especially important to either go to a doctor or don't just try to get some of these pills over the counter. Because you can, but you won't know what they're going to do with your body. But a doctor would know how to prescribe it to you. Because for example, before my wedding, oh, we're still here? Oh, sorry. I think that was my computer.
No, we're still here. We're over
We can hear you.
But
sorry, I think it just froze for a second. I was like, "Oh, are we done?"
I'm done.
Actually, just before my wedding, so I had a Sikh wedding, and the period thing is not really a factor in my religion. But my mother's Hindu, and she wanted to have like a Hindu puja, and I couldn't have my period for that time. And I kind of hate saying it because it feels so archaic, right? To say that, oh, you had to sit this one out, because my period was on my wedding day, but I was on birth control leading up to the puja, because puja is like prayer. And obviously I should have worked with my gynecologist, but I couldn't get her at the last minute, so I had to go to my GP. to get a pill. And I did, and it didn't work because I got my period anyway, which is fine. I was completely okay with this. Obviously the symptoms were abysmal because of it. Not my period, but leading up to the time when I was taking it, leading up to that time, it was an emotional time. But again, if you talk to your actual doctor, your gynecologist will be able to prescribe you because she will know your history, and especially male GPs. I'm not trying to make this like a sexism issue. Men in the field will not necessarily pay attention to not just your history, but also how things feel in your body, because they can't, it's not recreable. I don't know how to say it. They can't feel it themselves. So they will just prescribe you the first and easiest thing because that's what they're used to doing. So yeah, just disclaimer, anytime you are trying to get a pill of this sort, keep note of any side effects if you have them and take them to your doctor, and hopefully they will prescribe you the right medication going forward. But most of these problems that we have with birth control are preventable, but only if you're working with a doctor who cares about your health. And I know that that's really hard to find. I'm sure Vanshika or Muniba or even Uwanah could attest to how unique it is to be in a place where already you're told not to talk about your period, to then find a gynecologist. Because at least from my friends who grew up in India, I got to hear a lot about, I don't want to go to the gynecologist. I'm scared. I think they're going to hurt me. It's not going to be so good. So I feel like you guys can probably speak to this a lot more. This wasn't really my experience growing up, but it is really dangerous to tell women to avoid something that is so important to their health. So yeah, I'll give this back to you guys.
This about going to gynecologist, it was like some kind of taboo in my society. Yes, unmarried girls cannot go to gynecologist because they think gynecology only do some kind of things, like it is only for um, people having baby or this or that. That's why after marriage, when I have very, very painful periods, and when I went to gynecologist, and I was diagnosed by very big fibroid. It was like this big, and it is still here with me because of this very thing, that um, women can go to gynecologist before marriage, and I think this should have changed. This is something to change. Like, yes. So if I think recently my cousin was having very bad periods, and I told her mother that please take her to gynecologist, and she was like angry at me. She was like, literally, what are you talking about? She's just a kid. Then what is gynecologist? She is just doctor. Go and be there is. Then I told her about all the fibroid and thing, and I don't know if I put something in her mind or something, but I don't know. But I tried.
I think that's such an important myth that you brought up, Muni, because it just reminded me of like growing up in India, and I remember the same. Like nobody went to a GYN unless you were married, and it's now have being in here. It's just it reminded me like of what a big myth that was. Like it was considered like dirty, or you're dirty if you need a GYN and you're not married. And when it's true that there are women who typically in their teenage years who face the problems, the kind of problems that you're talking about, like, PCOS, like fibroids, and then they can't talk about it till they're married. So it's like they're afforded a necessary medical intervention only when they're partnered. Like, just again, look at how crazy that sounds. And it boils back to that control aspect that I'm talking about, that periods are being used to control women as opposed to giving them medical choices. And, I'm very touched by your story, Vanishka, like, because you talked about like PCOS so openly, because I know in India, they don't talk about it so openly. And the fact that you are on birth control, and then the fact that that is like the side effects are overplayed, as opposed to it is such a wide variety of choices. It's literally like going to a market here and like seeing 50 different kinds, and like someone picks the right one for you. I think these conversations are so helpful, because women, when they see this now, they'll be like, okay, it is not a myth to go to see like a gynecologist. It doesn't mean I'm dirty. It doesn't mean that, I have to be married to get necessary medical intervention for things like fibroids and PCOS. So thanks for bringing that. I'd forgotten about it. And now I'm like, wow, like, yes, this was true in my life. And we talk about modernism and being modern and like educating women. But like, this should be part of medical intervention, should be part of that. Should be like, you should be like, I feel so sad just hearing the story from you, Muni, like about like your cousin, like somebody scolding you for saying, take her to the doctor, which she needs. So again, one more way of controlling women that I keep coming back to, saying, we need to stop this and there needs to be more conversation.
Definitely. Well, I think on that note, it's 9:30, so we should probably wrap it up. I love being with you women. I look forward to it every week, and we'll be back next week at 8 a.m. Pacific, and um, just please come back, and I'm not sure what the topic is, but I'll make an announcement once we figure that out. So if everyone would say goodbye, I'll end the meeting.
Bye.
For coming.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.